Hey everyone, this is Dorian with Shuffle and Chill, and today we're going to talk about the March 7th update for Pokemon Shuffle, my recommendations, as well as a breakdown of this update and what you should be focusing on. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, the first Pokemon I want to talk about is our Ultra Challenge for the week, Meloetta Pirouette form. So this Pokemon is a great addition to a fighting team, especially if you are early to mid game. It maxes out at 130 attack once you use all the raised max levels available to it, and with Nosedive it can be a pretty interesting and good damage burst. Nosedive, if you don't already know, in the last 4 or 3 moves, it gives you a damage multiplier. It's kind of like Last Ditch Effort, but it is a lot less reliable. So my recommendation for Meloetta Pirouette form is, if you do want to use it, to invest in it, and you will get some good returns. I believe on level 5 at a match of 3 it's 45%, 4 it's 70%, and of course 5 it's 100%. And the damage again is a ×5 multiplier. Again, so it's a pretty good mid-game support. For this week, you do have to dump 2 hearts to try it, and of course, if you can beat it reliably, you can potentially farm it, although it can get kind of expensive. So just take that into consideration. What I will say is that for fighting, the teams are kind of stacked. The fighting teams are pretty stacked, so it's hard for any one Pokemon to really break into it. You have stuff like Hitmonlee with Shot Out, Buzzhole, which is a lot more reliable than Nosedive, because you don't have to wait till the last 4 moves to get consistently good damage, and all you need is a match of 4 with an 80% activation rate, I believe, at maxed level. You have Bearware, which is decent, with a Power Hug, I believe. You have Bearware, which is decent, with Power Hug, especially if you invest in it. Now, if you farmed it last week, you have Shiny Hawlucha, which can be pretty decent with that ×9 multiplier if you invest in it. Conkeldurr, which is pretty good as well, and basically does the same thing. So my honest opinion is it's a toss-up between Nosedive and Last Ditch Effort. That would be Meloetta Pirouette form and Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr is a main stage Pokemon, and you don't need to heavily invest in it really to get the effects of Last Ditch Effort. Last Ditch Effort is also more reliable than Nosedive. So I would say, if you absolutely need the support, you need the added power. 130 is not anything to scoff at. 130 is decent attack. But if you already have something like Buzzhole or Bearware, you really don't need that double coverage, because if you have Meloetta Pirouette form and Conkeldurr on the same team, they're both decent, but you can only activate one of them in the last, I think it's so after like I think Nosedive you can activate on move 4, but every time after that you're gonna want to activate Conkeldurr because it's better damage and it's more reliable. So that's all I have for Meloetta Pirouette form. In my opinion, if you are early to mid game, catch, maybe farm, because this week is not so busy. If you already have it, I would say just ignore it for this week. Yeah, that's my recommendation. Okay, the next Pokemon we have to talk about is Latios, or the Latios escalation for this week and next week. So you have 14 days for this escalation battle. Yeah, I'll give you guys my recommendation on whether you should try to play it this week or not. But let's go over Latios as a Pokemon. So you have a Pokemon with 115 max attack after you use all the raised max levels, and as a Mega, if you already have a Mega, it's takes about 19 icons, but you can use Mega Speed Up you can use up to 13 Mega Speed Ups. As a dragon, it's decent. Dragons have pretty good neutral coverage and very good super effective coverage because of course they can take on other dragons. As a dragon, it's decent. With dragons you get a lot of decent neutral damage coverage and of course very good super effective coverage because you can take on other dragons. I would say you can swap it to hitting streak plus, but it's not worth it because honestly there are much better dragons out there than Latios, and even though its mega effect is decent, it's not one that you are going to want to invest in very heavily. But that being said, this is an escalation battle, which means whatever skill it has, you can get all the mega speed ups for, the skill boosters for, so you will end up with a pretty much maxed out Latios. If you go with counterattack, you do get a times 20 multiplier per disruption, but it doesn't work with ability attack power plus. So that is something to take into consideration. Again, hitting streak is decent. When invested in, you get a times 10 multiplier after certain matches, after 6 matches. And it's pretty consistent. It's a pretty consistent 80% activation rate, I believe. So as far as rewards, this is the problem that I have with some of these escalations. So this is a timed escalation battle, which means, at least for me, I'm not very good at these, so I tend to not invest very heavily in these. I pretty much just get the Mega Stone and then maybe try it for a skill swapper. So if we look at the list of rewards, they're like very mixed. So the Mega Speed Ups are good. You get one at level 40, which is decent. It's pretty low on the level as far as the levels. After that, at level 50, you get the Latios site. If you already have that, you will get a Mega Speed Up, which is what I will get. You get a few XP boosters, and then at level 90 you get the first skill swapper. This is probably what I'm going to shoot for. I'm not great at time stages. I do have some pretty good dragons, so maybe I can make something happen. But I will see how difficult it is to get that first skill swapper and then decide if I want to invest further into it, because the next skill swapper doesn't happen until it doesn't happen. So that's a tough bargain. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get that skill swapper. That's the most important thing for me. And then after that, I will probably just play as much as I can without investing any coins if I can. I probably will only go up to 125 for that second Mega Speed Up. Yeah, probably third Mega Speed Up for me. So that's as far as I will go. My recommendation for this particular stage would be probably to wait till next week. This week is not so busy, so if you finish the safari, I would say, go ahead and try it, but there's really no rush. These rewards are not great. If anything, you can use this to get a pretty decent attack Latios and a maxed out counter attack, which again is a decent ability. It can solve some interesting boards by dealing out a very good burst damage. Nothing great here. I wish these rewards would be better. If there was a second skill swapper, I would definitely probably try to get to it, but not this time. Okay, the next Pokemon we have is one of my favorite in general. It used to be one of my favorite Pokemon in this game, but it's kind of been power creeped out, and that is our race max level or great challenge Yveltal. So Yveltal as a Pokemon, let's go over before I talk about whether you should invest in it or not. So Yveltal as a Pokemon is one of the strongest Pokemons that we have currently in the game. It sits at a decent 145 attack power when maxed out. It's great against Ghost and Psychic competitions, and if you are early to mid game, this is an indispensable Pokemon, especially if you skill swap it. If you skill swap it to Block Smash Plus, Block Smash Plus doesn't need any farming because it has pretty good activation rate. but it is indispensable. Like I said, it is the only way to make this Pokemon playable. Otherwise, he's not really great because its innate ability is Power of 5 plus. Power of 5 plus is okay damage. It's okay damage burst. But the problem is you're not going to get it off that consistently, to be honest with you. So you want to go with something more reliable and useful like Block Smash Plus, because it will solve some complicated boards. And again, you don't really need to invest in it because at level 1, it is a 60, 100, 100 activation, meaning you get a 60% activation rate at a match of 3, 100 at 4, and 100 at 5. And at level 5, it is an 80, 100, 100. So it's really only a difference of about 20% on the first match, or not on the first match, on a match of 3, which is the minimum. So for most people, my recommendation would be this week with Yveltal is just catch it. It does have the ability to drop a raised max level, I believe. So if you want to try it, I guess you can. To be honest with you, it's not really, the percentage chance that it will drop a raised max level versus the definite 300 coins that you will invest in it, and what you get out of it is not great. If you are a mid to late game player and you are at the point where you need to skill swap stuff, this is not your first priority. Don't get me wrong, it's a great Pokemon. It's a nice beat stick at 145 attack power, but you have stuff like Hoopa that you need to skill swap to Typeless Combo, Malamar, which you need to skill swap to Block Shot, which basically does the same thing but a ton more damage. Darkrai, which if you played last month, you probably maxed out on Sleep Charm. Zoroark, which you can farm to do, I believe it's called Sinister Power, so it powers up dark combos. So there can be room for Yveltal, but it's kind of debatable where you would want to put it. There's just a lot of good... I wouldn't say there's a lot of good dark Pokemon. It's just that those 4 slots are pretty much stacked already. But again, for early to mid game, this is a pretty good Pokemon, very indispensable, especially if you swap it to Block Smash Plus. Okay guys, next we have Thundurus. Thundurus is an electric type with a maxed AP of 130. And before I forget, Thundurus is a once a day opportunity. So every day for the next week, you will get a chance to catch Thundurus, only once. However, you do have the slight chance of getting a drop, which is a Mega Speed Up, I believe. So you do have the chance of getting a Mega Speed Up from Thundurus. So I would say, like, even if you already have it, just try it once a day, because there is that slight chance that you will get the Mega Speed Up. Now, as far as how good of a Pokemon this is, Thundurus, again, is a pretty good Pokemon with 130 maxed AP. It doesn't have a great ability. Power of 5 plus has a multiplier of ×5 at level 5, but it's a pretty high investment, and to be honest with you, it's highly situational, not worth the trouble in my opinion. Now, if you do want to skill swap it to I believe it gets Relentless. So if you do want to skill swap it to Relentless, it's a great damage boost. At level 5, I think it's ×3. But the Pokemon has to have a condition on it. Now, one good thing about Relentless is it does work with Disruption Delay. So if you do buy that in the shop, you will get that effect. However, it only gives you the damage boost for the first match. In my opinion, Thundurus is worth the catch. However, I would not say that it is worth farming. Not that you will get much chances to farm it. I mean, it's only 7 times this week, but I mean, you can get some skill boosters, and also you have a chance of getting a Mega Speed Up, so why not give it a shot? Okay, the next Pokemon we have is Celebi. So I'm really kind of disappointed by how they did Celebi. Celebi has pretty bad skills. Even the one you can swap it to is not great. Okay, so let's start. So Celebi has an extremely low attack. It's a psychic Pokemon with a max attack of 100, which is pretty much trash for a Pokemon, for a legendary Pokemon. Okay, so Celebi is easy to beat and catch. It's extremely useless, as I mentioned before. The best hope is to skill swap it to Cheer, but even then, Cheer is not worth skill swapping for. Cheer increases the activation rate of the next Pokemon's ability. So if you activate Cheer and it goes off, the next Pokemon has an increased percentage that its ability will go off. This ability can work really well with things like Tryhard, with Snorlax, but like you can just do Cheer Plus, and Cheer Plus guarantees that you will get the ability off. So not worth. Honestly, like half of the grass roster in this game is better than this Pokemon, which really sucks because I like Celebi. In my opinion, these Pokemon need to be revamped. They need to be put into like escalations. I think there is a Celebi escalation actually, but they need to be put into escalations and given better skills. For Celebi, what could you give? Like some sort of thing, some sort of ability where if you activate it 3 times, the 4th time it kind of like Future Sight, the 4th time that it activates, it does like a ton of damage. It could even get Cyburst. Cyburst would be great if Celebi had Cyburst, to be honest with you. I mean, why not? Mewtwo has it, so it could be decent with Cyburst. Okay, next we are going to move on to Golem. Golem is a rock with a max attack of 125. 125 is decent, guys, for rock. But honestly, Golem has a tough time breaking into any rock-based teams because there are just better damage bursts. There are a few Nosedive Pokemon that are pretty good. I forget the name of the Pokemon. It's one of the 6th or 7th generation new Pokemon. So the skill that it has, cross attack, is decent. At level 5 it ends up with a 4.5 multiplier, but there's still better options. If you skill swap it to Nonstop Plus, it has a 10 times multiplier, but it's it's a very heavy investment, and in my opinion, even then it's not worth the skill swap. There just are better things that you would want to skill swap, not only this week but also next week. In my opinion, just catch and forget. Again, there are plenty of things that you want to invest in. The next Pokemon is going to be Alolan Marowak. The next Pokemon is going to be Alolan Marowak. So Marowak is Ghost with a max AP of 105. There are honestly just better Ghost types out there in the game. A lot of Ghost types that are much better. Trevenant, with Shot Out. You have Mimikyu with Spookify Plus. I forget, Lunala, I believe, which is the legendary with Ghost combo or Phantom combo. So, Shadow Dance is interesting because it has great potential. Of course, the multiplier is stronger than stuff like Typeless combo and any regular combo boost, but you have to get a match of 5. So I would say, the best case scenario would be to use this in a stage where you have like 3 Pokemon, like a stage 3 Pokemon, or 3-stage Pokemon. Wait, what am I saying? In a stage with 3 support Pokemon. But it's very situational. Honestly, any typeless combo is better. If you have Hoopa Unbound, you cover pretty much everything that this thing covers as far as like being super effective again. So there's absolutely no reason to invest in this Marowak. Also, I believe it takes 2 hearts to try, so it's do not just catch it and forget about it. Not worth the trouble. Catch and forget. Next, we have Regirock. Regirock is one of the best things that we have during this week. So just let's go over this. So Regirock is a rock-type Pokemon, legendary Pokemon with 110 max AP. There's a decent beater, just without taking into account any skills, it's kind of like middle of the road. It's not great, but Rock doesn't have really that many awesome Pokemon. What this thing brings to the table, though, is last-ditch effort for Rock-type teams. So last-ditch effort is an awesome skill. This is basically a better version of Ringola, I don't know, whatever the other Rock-type Pokemon with last-ditch effort is. So this is definitely the skill you want. You can skill swap it to Rock Big Plus. Do not swap it. It is not worth the swap at all. Don't do that. There's stuff with Rock Shot that you can use. Do not skill swap this. You want to keep last ditch effort. It has decent coverage. It has super, it's super effective against Ice, Fire, Flying, Bug, of course. So some decent coverage. It is worth the catch. To be honest with you, last ditch effort is a very, very useful skill, especially to clear some of those harder stages. And I will say that, the one thing I will say is it's 300 coins a run, but I think the drop rate on this might be 50% because I had a pretty easy time getting skill boosters. So I would say catch, farm if you have the coins. This is definitely the week to do that. This week is not a difficult week. If you haven't finished the safari, maybe it's a difficult week for you. Or not a difficult week, but it's a busier week than otherwise. So yeah, definitely a catch and farm if you want to. Next thing we're going to talk about is Wobbuffet. I don't know why they say this is a great chance, because this is definitely not a great chance. Wobbuffet is very, very forgettable. It's a Psychic with 105 attack, counter attack, which is, it's an alright skill, but who is going to invest in Wobbuffet? You can skill swap it to Rock Break Plus, but again, who is going to invest in Wobbuffet? There's just plenty of other stuff. It's worth the catch, obviously not the farm. Just focus on other things, catch this and forget it. Next, we are going to move on to the Kanto starters, the Winking Kanto starters for the special daily Pokemon. So there are a few things that are positive about this thing before I go into the actual Pokemon. The first thing is they have the potential of dropping not skill boosters, experience boosters. So that's good. That's always a plus. They have some pretty good utility, to be honest with you. I ran into this event when I was sort of like a mid to low level player, or like mid to low level player, and the skills are pretty useful, and for the most part they have pretty good catch rate, and of course they also have pretty good skill booster points drop or whatever. So let's go into them. So the first thing is Winking Charmander, and that is, I believe, the Tuesday that it drops. Comes with a max attack of 90 and Barrier Bash Plus, which, if you don't have Reshiram, is a pretty good Pokemon. Next, we have Squirtle with, again, a max attack of 90 with Rock Break Plus. Again, very good for early game and easy to catch. Bulbasaur comes with Block Smash Plus. Decent, but it does become a little bit useless once you have Meganium and, of course, Tapu Bulu, but, of course, those are like end game Pokemon that I'm talking about. The fairies have some pretty... So the rest of this is fairies. These are not starters, but they have some pretty good stuff. So Jigglypuff, again, has a max attack of 90. It comes with the Jack Plus. It's very good. Not many fairies have that kind of coverage, that is not like shot out. I think Jigglypuff is one of like 2 fairies that have it. So again, if you get this early game, it can be very useful. The next is Clefairy with Block Smash Plus. Block Smash Plus, a very useful skill. Again, a max attack of 90. In the early game, this is going to be indispensable. It can help you deal with some of those pesky dragons. So overall, I just want to say this is a good batch of Pokemon for early to mid-game people, with some very useful skills. Sometimes we forget that there are people that have not played this game for years. Okay, finally, the last thing you should do this week, or the last thing on my list, is to finish the safari, the Garchomp safari, Garchomp / Manaphy / Fion safari. So there's very little to be excited about in this safari, other than Manaphy, Fion, Winking Manaphy and Winking Fion, Garchomp, and yeah, that's about it. Staryu can be farmed for coins, so every time I try it I get about 600 coins. I've heard that there's a way that you can get all the coins. 600 is pretty good for me, so I honestly haven't really looked into it. They do drop XP boosters as well, so that's one good thing about this safari. I really like when safaris drop things because it is so useless to just run these over and over and not get anything out of them. So I'm gonna go over the top 3 Pokemon that I think are worth doing the safari for. These are the ones that you should definitely catch if you want something that is useful in the future. And then of course, if you want every single Pokemon, you can go ahead and try those. Again, I think I've mentioned this before, but my recommendation is to try 15 minutes, the 15-minute trial of No Hearts Needed that we get every week. You should try that over and over and over, or for those 15 minutes you should just keep going in and out of the safari until you get the Garchomp, Winking Manaphy, and Winking Fion, because they have a very low appearance rate of like I think 1%, 3%, something like that. So it's very low. Make sure you try it as many times as you can so you don't waste hearts. That way, if you are able to catch them within those 15 minutes, you will only have very easy Pokemon to catch after that. Okay, so now let's move on to the breakdown of these Pokemon. So Garchomp ground has in general very good coverage. Garchomp has a max AP of 145, so that's pretty good damage. Mega Garchomp's effect, which if you did the competition last week, now you have the Mega Stone. It's useful. It's not a tapper, so it's okay. It does have a low percentage spawn. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but that's okay if you know how to deal with that. It can be very good. Not very good. It can be better if you skill swap it to Mega Boost Plus. However, that's a lot of investment. A skill swap for a Pokemon like Garchomp, I'm not sure is worth it because, honestly, Mega Garchomp doesn't even break my top 15. Probably not even my top 20 if I really think about it. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a tough one. So for this, Pokemon use Water Damage Burst, your Ash Greninja, last week's Volcanion if you have it, and Block Smash to beat it. Meganium, I think we had Meganium last week too, or the week before that. So next thing is Winking Manaphy. So this is the only water type Pokemon to cover have Rock Break Plus. There are water Pokemon that have Rock Break Plus, but this one has Rock Break Plus. So that's a good thing. You don't need to farm this because with a match of 4, this is 100% every time. It's got a decent 110 attack once you max the AP, and it does have a okay catch rate, I would say, for this event, considering some of the stuff that we had last week. So it's great for early to mid game. It's very good for early to mid game. But later in the game it does kind of get useless because Kyogre has Rock Shot, and I think Primal Kyogre has Primal or like Rock Shot Alpha or something like that. I have no idea. But anyway, I'm not quite there yet. But because Kyogre has Rock Shot, it makes this ability useless because it doesn't deal damage, along with get rid of disruptions. The next thing is going to be Winking Fion. So Winking Fion has an meh AP of 105. Mega Boost Plus is not a very good skill. To be honest with you, this is one of the only skills that gets worse the more plus signs it gains. Let me explain to you what I mean. The activation rate decreases. So you do get more icons, but the icons that you get are not that much more. And the activation rate is a lot less. Like even at 100%, you're not guaranteed. On a 5 match, you're not guaranteed 100% activation rate. So the catch rate is it's a bit low, but it's easy to beat, and it's a 3 Pokemon stage, so you shouldn't really have a problem with that. I like to bring Sceptile and along with stuff to make it evolve quick, and then it just blows up the field. Okay, the last Pokemon is going to be Fion. Fion again has an okay. Honestly, this is not a good AP for a legendary Pokemon, but so it has or pseudo legendary. So it has a Met AP of 105. It's a good damage burst with a crowd control. As far as as long as you invest in it with a multiplier of times 50 times, and then. Is it worth the catch? I would say it's worth the catch. There are better lower investment burst damage Pokemon, but it's okay for mid game. I would say mid to early game, it's an okay Pokemon to catch. Okay, so let's talk about how you should play out your week. So let's go over what you should do every single day. So first of all, the first heart that you get, you should throw it at Thundurus. Always throw it at Thundurus, not only because if you don't catch it, you should catch it as soon as possible, but also because even after you catch it, you do get some things back. You may get some skill boost, but also you may get a mega speed up, which is very, very valuable. So please use your first heart on Thundurus. The next thing to consider is the daily Pokemon. It would be Charmander, Wingy Charmander, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and then of course Clefairy and Jigglypuff. Anyway, so you want to do these if you don't have them. Again, if you already have them, I would say they are worth skipping because they don't really give anything good. So you can skip those. The next thing to invest in for this week would be making sure that you catch the Celebi, because Celebi is extremely easy to catch. 20 moves, it's very, very easy. Next thing would be Wobbuffet. If you haven't caught it already, catch Wobbuffet. The drops, again, are useless because no one wants to max out a Wobbuffet. The next thing to focus on would be Golem. Golem is not that tough to catch. You get 17 moves. It's pretty easy. I think I caught it my second time, and the catch rate is very good. The next thing to work on would be Fion. And not Fion. The next thing you would want to catch is Meloetta, because again, it's a decent Pokemon. It's gonna take 2 hearts, so you may have to wait a little bit, but it is a decent Pokemon to catch. That's the next thing you should be catching. After that, you want to go with Marowak. Marowak, I would say just catch Marowak. It's a little tough to get the hang of what's going on in the stage. There's some strange disruptions, but if you have a decent shot out Pokemon, you can deal some very good damage on this because it does have a lot of disruptions. Also, if you have Darkrai, you can put it to sleep, and that will go a long way. After that, you will want to work on Regirock. So catch Regirock. Not a hard Pokemon to catch. 30 moves, so you can get some decent experience out of that. So Regirock. After that, you will move on to going over the special challenge, which is Yveltal. Yveltal drops race max level, so make sure you catch it. 16 moves. Yveltal is not very hard. If you have a Block Smash Plus or like a shiny Diancie, this is going to be a doozy. You'll be able to finish it, and the catch rate is not horrible. I honestly think this special challenge is so much easier than the regular way that you have to catch Yveltal, which is with the time stages. So this was definitely a relief for me. I caught it like this week. So okay, after that, you want to work on the Safari, finishing out the Safari. Finish out your Safari, catch all the Pokemon that you need to catch. If you need to use that no hearts needed, go ahead and use it for that. It is very, very, very good. Some of those Pokemon are kind of useful, especially that Garchomp. It's a nice beat stick for a ground type Pokemon. Okay, so once you finish that, I'm going to suggest don't do the escalation battle. So do not do the escalation battle. What I will say you should do next is one of two things. You should either invest in, commit to farming, I don't know why I keep saying Fion. Commit to farming Meloetta and try to get that as high as you can. Again, it is a pretty high investment because this Pokemon does require 2 hearts, but it is definitely worth it, I will say. I think you know, if you get a maxed out Meloetta out of this, you will be happy with it. It is a useful Pokemon. I think this is easier now to farm probably than Conkeldurr, and I think the drop rate on this is about 50% because it does require 2 hearts. So, you know, take that advice and run with it. The next thing you're going to want to do is farm Regirock. Farm Regirock. Farm Regirock. It's pretty costly. However, Last Ditch Effort doesn't really require that many skill boosts. And the last thing you can do if you do not want to do that is switch over to the escalation battle and start working on that escalation battle. Again, the rewards aren't great, so if you want to just rush it and go all the way up to the skill swapper and then stop there, I would say personally that's a very good place to stop, because then you can switch off and do some other stuff. Maybe you go back to the main stages. But yeah, so that's going to be my recommendation for week 10 of Pokemon Shuffle's update, the March 7th update, I believe. So again, this is Dorian with Shuffle and Chill, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. Go ahead and give this a like and subscribe if you like the content. It keeps me going. Yeah, so stay calm and keep shuffling.